How Ruben Amorim will actually set up Manchester United in the beginning of his tenure as head coach of one of the biggest clubs in the world of football. We're going to look into some training footage and then we're going to talk tactics. Which players do I expect to really hit the ground running under Ruben Amorim? If you're new around here, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and of course this video is brought to you by the good people of WeFoot that make incredible socks that I use when I play five-a-side against Ned and Manure. But more on that later on. Let's get this party started. First, we're going to dive into Ruben Amorim's first training session at Manchester United, because there were some clear patterns and drills on display that will give us a clearer idea of how Manchester United will play under the Portuguese head coach. Although on a side note, I've never known a training session to get as much attention and analysis, but this is Manchester United. Playing against the academy in the international break, United were set up in Amorim's 3-4-2-1. Yoro at right centre-back, Evans in the middle and Shaw on the left, with Tyrell Malacia at left wing-back and Anthony at right wing-back. Casemiro and Meno formed a slightly staggered midfield pivot, whilst Ahmad and Mount played behind the central striker, Marcus Rashford. There was a clear emphasis on retaining the ball in central areas between the back three and midfield pivot, before the centre-back would switch the play to the wing-back. A common move after the switch to the left wing-back was a first-time pass to the underlapping number 10, followed up by a low cross or cutback. What's more impressive here is we actually saw a first-time cross from Anthony's right foot. Whilst the footage focused on Man United in possession, there was a clear drill that saw the players sprint back into their defensive shape as soon as the ball was lost. This suggests that early on we could see Amorim move away from counter-pressing when the ball is lost in favour of getting men behind the ball, which could make Man United far less open in the transition. So what does this mean for Manchester United? Well, first and foremost, the centre-back is very capable of playing those balls out into those wide areas for the wing-backs to utilise the underlap for the number 10s. But also, looking onto that, Manchester United under Amorim in early doors will look to draw the opposition onto them, forcing the opposition to press their kind of back five structure, then the ball to be retained in those positions, to draw the opposition on, and then potentially utilising a quick passage of play forward or a switch of play out of the back from wing back, as we saw in the training session. But we've also know that Amorim has come and said he needs to coach what he understands, and that is very much the 3-4-2-1 system, which is something that we're going to see at the start of his reign as Manchester United manager. But how is he exactly going to set up in the early part of his reign as Man United head coach? So let's start in goal. Andre Onana will be Ruben Amorim's goalkeeper for the foreseeable future. You got to remember that Onana played behind Inter Milan's back three when he had his best season in terms of saving shots. His post-shot expected goals were the best in the Champions League by a country mile. I also think a back three takes the responsibility off him being the ball player, because simply he needs to find one of the three players ahead of him, which normally will draw the opposition's press higher up the pitch, allowing United to play through their lines. And again, the responsibility doesn't fall on Andre Onana finding those passes into the feet of the 8s or the number 10s, allowing him to do what he does best, that is keeping possession, that is playing through the lines at the right moment, but also making crucial saves. In terms of the back three, expect it to be Johnny Evans, Matheus de Ligt, and of course there's Lisandro Martinez. Martinez is very, very similar to Gonzalo Ignacio at Sporting Lisbon. And when we look at the statistics of Lisandro Martinez of his last season for Ajax and Gonzalo Ignacio's last season for Sporting Lisbon under Ruben Amorim, they are very similar. And when you look at those numbers, Lisandro Martinez actually comes on top in a number of different metrics. And that's where he is going to thrive as this left centre-back. Not only will be able to bait pressure high up the pitch, allowing him to have an easy ball out to the wing-back, again, could consequently be drawing the opposition's full-back, creating big space for the left attacking midfielder to drift in behind. This is an area where Lisandro needs to be utilised. His ball playing is absolutely fantastic. From a left-footed perspective, he's got all the passes available, flat balls into the feet of the number 10, balls to break the lines into the number 8, but also switches of play, balls into the feet of the far side midfielder, and of course the short passes to the player near him. Lisandro is a top quality ball playing centre-back, and we've not seen that enough recently at Manchester United. On to the centre centre-back position, I think Johnny Evans comes in and brings experience. Not only comfortable at playing balls out with his right foot, but as well with his left foot as well. A very two-footed footballer. And remember that assist that he got to Bruno Fernandes against Burnley in the Premier League last season. A cracking ball over the top of the defence for Bruno Fernandes to volley into the goal. What a pass that was. Expect more of that from Johnny Evans. But again, that centre-back position, as mentioned previously, has got to be super aggressive with the opposition's number 9. Got to be super touch tight. Got to be pressing them high, not allowing them to turn. Evans' experience, but also the two players either side will allow him to do that. On to right centre-back, expect this to be Leny Yoro's position, but just in the short term, expect Mateus to play that role. Leny Yoro's just come back from a long-term injury, so he needs a bit of time to adapt to the Premier League. He's got the quality to play that position 100%, but just until Leny Yoro gets up to speed in the Premier League, expect Mateus de Ligt to be the right centre-back and Johnny Evans to sit in that centre-back role, commanding, controlling, allowing the players around him to move and then feeding them. In terms of Mateus de Ligt, he's a fantastic 1v1 defender. He's got pace, he's powerful, he's strong, he's aggressive. He'll be able to squeeze high at the pitch. Again, something that we've got to expect from those outside centre-backs is them to be able to jump high up and create overloads in those kind of defensive areas. You know, when the teams under Amorim have previously forced their opposition down one flank, jumping into that area, squeezing the play and winning it back. So it's vitally important that not only the right wing-back is aggressive, but also the right centre-back squeezing up and pressing high. A role that, of course, Mateus de Ligt can do. And later on in the tenure of Ruben Amorim, we will see that, of course, from Leny Yoro, who I'm so excited to see in a Man United shirt. WeFoot Technology create premium athletic socks that are designed by athletes but used by everyone. They're so good that they're breaking into the professional team and have worked with Serie A side Empoli. What makes their socks so unique is they've got grips on the inside and on the outside of the sock. So it's going to give you excellent grip in the boot, but also the sock is going to have excellent grip to the bottom of your foot. WeFoot also make their socks using Biomax fabrics, which is great for moisture control, keeping your feet dry and greatly reducing the chance of you getting a blister. What's more is WeFoot produce a variety of socks. On the go all day, try the urban lifestyle. Working in hot conditions, try their skin fit. Or if you want the most comfortable sock you're ever going to try, go for the cushion. I've used these socks playing football and the grip between my foot and the boot gives you an unbelievable level of control. And yes, more goals and more assists. If you're interested in buying some of the best socks around, then check out WeFoot Technology via the link in the description below. What's even better is we're giving you 20% off if you use the code DAVE20 at checkout. Thanks again to WeFoot Technology for sponsoring this video. So now on to the wing-backs. Let's start with the left wing-back. Expect to see Tyrell Malacia playing that position at the start of Amorim's tenure as manager. In terms of his quality, we know that he was a player at Feyenoord that liked to play inverted. So he'd move from his left-back position, he'd move into the centre of the pitch, and he'd get on the ball and play passes. I think the one big thing with Malacia, due to injuries and the lack of playing time, we never quite saw that rhythm. And I think he's a player that needs to play week in, week out, similar to a Wayne Rooney type player. You can't just bring Rooney and Cole back into Manchester United. When he was brought back from injury, he'd struggle a bit. But when he got up to form, got up to speed, Wayne Rooney is one of the best players ever that we've seen in the Premier League. So in terms of Tyrell Malacia needs that game time, what I like about him, what we saw in the training clips, was not only his ability to receive those long switches, but he's really quick playing that underlapping pass. And it's something that we'll see from Ruben Amorim's sides over and over again. Not only does it coax the opposition's fullback out of position because they've got to jump, because again, you're going to be squeezing in your narrow 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 or 4-4-2, which will allow players in those wing-back areas to play sharp. One of the things that we consistently saw was that ball out to the wide area, little underlap, and then attack in the space. And just a quick one from a tactical perspective, why do the top teams attack these types of areas in the pitch? It's because of the quality of chance you create. When you look at the expected goals generated from underlaps or moves into the penalty area in these inside channels, results in high-quality XG. Just take Brentford as a prime example. They're doing it over and over again. but so do Manchester City with their free eights and their concept. When we're looking at Manchester United under Ruben Amorim, imagine in the sense that the number 10s are the free eights. So those types of passes that get played, down the line into areas where the 10s are going to get on the ball, these types of areas create a real high quality of chance, because either you're going to drop a low cross into the box, which again is going to be very hard to defend, or alternatively you're going to be clearing that space out and having someone arrive a little bit later on the penalty area to fire home. But that move, that dangerous play, hitting that inside channel tactically is a weapon that Amorim will use at Manchester United. And I think for Luke Shaw as well, he's coming back from injury. Been out for a long time. Spent a bit of time playing at the Euros, but's not played much football. But I also think with Luke Shaw, we're probably more likely to see him actually as a left-sided centre-back than a left wing-back for me in this Amorim side. I think we'll rather see someone like a Garnacho, someone like an Anthony actually playing as a left wing-back over Luke Shaw in this system. We mentioned it in a previous video, but I like the idea that Anthony can be this early cross wing-back where he's going to be getting balls into the box early with his left foot, or creating himself a little yard in the final third, then crossing. Whereas consistently when Anthony plays on the right wing, get it onto that left foot, whereas I'd like to see him naturally on the outside, and that's an area where he could play. Of course, Harry Amas, expect him to get some game time as well. A superb footballer we've spoken about him many times. But expect Tyrell Malacia to be that left wing back in the early part of the season, with Luke Shaw more playing as a left-sided centre-back, an area where I think he can excel in European football. So let's move to the right wing-back area. Of course, Anthony played in training in that position, and it's an area that I think kind of doesn't still get the best out of the Brazilian. In a sense, where I think the Brazilian would be better is in the inside positions. He's a player that constantly tries to get the ball onto that left foot. So when it comes to having players around him, I think he'd be better in these inside positions to play the combinations, to run off the ball, to then cut back and get shots away. But I think there's players that will facilitate that role a lot better for Manchester United, such as Amad Diallo. So I think from a right wing back position, it's either going to be probably one of the players of the season, Mazraoui, or we're likely to see Diogo Dalot return to more of a wing-back position. I think one of the big things that's come up in training over and over again is that both wing-backs will attack the penalty area. So these players need to be composed when putting the ball in the back of the net, as well as everything else we previously mentioned. The move that we mentioned before in terms of Tyrell Malacia, ball into the inside channel, and then the cutback. What we kind of saw was not only the number 9 getting into the penalty area, the number 10, but also the far side wing-back was getting into the box, basically creating a situation where you're overloading the opposition's backline. Technically, if we drop the Ipswich players in here, as just an example, you've got the centre-backs, the fullback's been drawn out by the shape and the way that we've played. You're basically creating a 3v3 on the back post, which is very good from an attacking sense. I think Mazraoui would be powerful in the air in those positions, but I do think it'll be out of one of those two, Mazraoui or Diogo Dalot, to play as a right wing-back for Amorim in the early part of his reign. I think that provides not only the defensive quality, but also the offensive quality. I think we could see one of those two players as well, playing as a right-sided centre-back at times if Man United want to be even more offensive. So moving into central midfield, an area of the pitch that's very, very important for Amorim's sides. Combative midfielders that win the ball back, that can press, that can do a lot of different things that's required of a central midfielder. Casemiro and Ugarte could be the long-term pairing in terms of if United need to scrap in games. Casemiro was brilliant in the recent game against Leicester City, completed 90% of his passes and won 7 of his 11 tackles. In terms of Casemiro, he looks a little bit more free when he's playing in a true double pivot, where he can jump and arguably play a little bit higher as a box-to-box player, something that we've spoke about many times on this channel, that Casemiro could do this job. Less a destroyer these days, more of a box-to-box midfielder that can actually get on the end of crosses. Something that Amorim likes his number 8 to do again is join the attacking line in build-up, creating arguably kind of a 3 forwards plus that number 8 to a 4-man attack with both wing-backs, allowing Manchester United to fully overload their opposition. This will cause massive problems for teams that defend in kind of 4-4-2 shapes, in a sense as you're massively overloading their defensive line, but as well you've got enough centre-backs in there to retain possession in the right areas, but also allow them to deal with the counter-attack. So that could be a real option for Manchester United in there. But of course Ugarte plays for Uruguay, is going to come back a little bit late. So from the start of the tenure of Ruben Amorim, expect Kobbie Mainoo maybe to start with Casemiro. Mainoo could play either role. Casemiro could hold. Again, I think he's probably better playing high at the pitch, but Maino probably operating more, in this deeper area, getting on the ball. We know that he's got both of those qualities, got a little bit more finesse than the other two midfielders, can carry, can drive through, can do the lot. One of the things that Amorim was kind of working with Cobby about in training was kind of receiving, but also being a little bit deceptive in his movement, so not being so flat to allow the opposition to kind of jump onto him, when receiving, dropping shoulders, then coming back to receive, bouncing off, coming again, and then receiving it in another area away from the opposition's, forward line, let's say, picking up the ball in those areas, then looking out for that switch of play out wide to release the underlap, and we all know after that, the goal coming in from those types of situations. So it's one of those situations where I think at the start of the tenure, we'll probably see a lot more of Casemiro in there, but I think longer term, Maino, Ugarte has got the potential to be a really good pairing, and I think that could work in certain games where Man United are real dominant on the ball. I think in other games where you want to throw in Casemiro, pushing Cobby a little bit higher up the pitch into an attacking area could be even better. That would be a lot of work rate for Manchester United in those central areas. United need to become really horrible to play against the bigger sides. So arguably playing 4 very, very high work, high energy players is something that Amorim will do. Talking about that high energy, Mason Mount looked very, very good in training. Something that we've said many times in his career at Manchester United so far, but of course played his best football in this kind of inside right position, linking with Reece James for Chelsea under Thomas Tuchel to great effect. And I think that's an area where would help Manchester United. At the start of the season, when United looked their best from a pressing perspective, was when they had Bruno and Mason Mount playing as 2 strikers. This system allows United to throw another forward in there in Marcus Rashford, but still get the work rate of those 2 guys. So I think for United, there's going to be a lot of variation in these positions. But I think longer term, we might tend to see maybe a winger attacking midfielder combination. So, you've got your Bruno Fernandes in there. I'd expect it to be, Alejandro Garnacho in that kind of zone. But I think more from the start, Amad Diallo really suits that position. And why Amad Diallo is going to get the nod early on is his ability in these tight spaces. Amad ranks number 1 in the Man United squad for progressive carries into the final third, and carries into the box. On top of that, he's 3rd for shot creating actions, despite just playing 50% of the minutes available, and he's also on 0.56 goals plus assists per 90, which is the best of any player in United's squad. I think Amorim is going to love players like Amad Diallo. Close control, quality in those areas, and the ability to score from any single moment. And expect the attacking midfielder in the front 3 to be Bruno Fernandes. His form in recent weeks has been fantastic. 6 goal involvements in the last 4 games for Manchester United. But he tops United for the usual statistics. Shot creating actions, chances created, goals and assists, passes into the final third, progressive passes, but also ranks 3rd for tackles and 2nd for ball recoveries. His energy is going to be vitally important for Manchester United in an offensive and defensive situation. Let's move to the striker, because I think this is an interesting one. I've spoken a lot about Rasmus Højlund long-term being Man United's number 9 through the middle. But I think first and foremost, Man United need to start scoring more goals. United's best goal scorer in the last 3 seasons has been Marcus Rashford by a country mile. When we look at the statistics this season, Rashford has had just 10 shots in 11 Premier League games. But those 10 shots have come in just 4 games, meaning that there's been 7 Premier League games this season where Rashford hasn't had a shot either created by himself or for his teammates. So number 1 in terms of what Amorim needs to do in the short term is just create shooting actions for Marcus Rashford. As we mentioned before, that ability to create chances from underlapping situations, from through balls from number 10. It's going to be vitally important. Rashford has that ability to put the ball in the back of the net from any type of chance and situation. Long shots, tap-ins, cutting in from the right wing, cutting in from the left wing. It's all about United in the early part of Amorim's tenure as manager, creating chances for Marcus Rashford. I think longer term, we could see Rashford drop a little bit deeper, getting a Rasmus Højlund into the side or Joshua Zirkzee into the side. But I think at the start, going with Rashford as the number 9 is a really smart thing that Amorim should do and will do. Playing in that number 9 position, Marcus Rashford has actually been the most effective in his Man United career. Directly involved in 0.53 goals per game as a centre forward in all competitions. His ability to get in behind the opposition's backline is going to create even more space for the two number 10s to play make and to get on the ball. And that is a key feature of Amorim's system. The number 9 pulling the opposition back, allowing the likes of, the attacking midfielder and the winger inside to dribble at the opposition. But this is how I feel United are going to set up in the early part of Ruben Amorim's tenure. But anyway, guys, get into the comments. How do you think Amorim is going to set United up immediately? And then where do they go in the future? I've been Statman Dave, of course. Check out WeFoot. Great socks that I use to score all my goals and get more assists than the amount of times that Neda Manua got nutmegged in a last five-a-side game. On that note, thanks for watching. See you later.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, why not check out some more content on the Statman Dave YouTube channel?